This is how we're taking a good spot and making it great. Welcome back to Antler Alley. You guys helped me name this place. And about a month ago, this was all trees. We came in with the chainsaws, cleared out about 1/10 of an acre. We planted it with brassicas and clover. And as you can see, about 2 weeks later, we're getting some really good germination. So now we're right at the end of August, and we're gonna do everything we can to make this the best spot possible and not come back until season. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna overseed our food plot with Oats Plus from Whitetail Institute. I'm really excited to try that this year. It's supposed to be a cold, hardy oat that the deer absolutely annihilate. The other things we're gonna do is install a scrape tree. So we have that as an additional attraction to concentrate buck activity. We're gonna put up a camera or two. We're gonna refresh our mineral lick, and then we're gonna trim out 2 different trees to make sure they are hunt ready. And after that, we're gonna clean up our access to make sure we can get in here undetected. After we do all of those things, we should be set up great for the fall to come back in a month when the season opens up and have some killer hunts. So I got my oats here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna plant them at about 50 pounds per acre just to fill in all of the gaps where the brassicas and the clover aren't already growing. And that's just gonna maximize the amount of tonnage that we have for the deer and make this little food plot as appealing as possible. So here we go. All right, so we got our seed down. The next thing we're gonna do is install a scrape tree. So I'm gonna cut down this sapling here, and I'll show you how I'm gonna install it, make a Franken scrape. I'll show you what that means in a second. But I got this Hoyman saw. I'm not associated with them at all. I've tried about 50 different hand saws. This is my favorite one, and I will link to this down below in the description if you guys wanna check it out. But it's super sharp, great for hanging tree stands or mobile hunting. But we'll go ahead and cut this thing down. So this is where I want to put the scrape tree, and the reason why I want it here is because I have 2 trees picked out for different wind directions, different axes, and this is going to be within bow range of both of them. But I cut this tree and I eyeballed the height just to get it somewhat close to what I think I need. But what we're going to do is I'm going to dig out a spot and kind of lean it into the crotch of this. Since I do have this stump here, I wasn't able to get a mini excavator to get all these stumps out yet, but we're gonna use it to our advantage right now and hang this so we have a perfect scrape tree. We'll be able to put a camera on it, and it'll be able to concentrate buck activity to get us a good bow shot. Once we get this tree secured, I'll show you the rest of the steps that I'm gonna do, but we're gonna pimp this thing out, make it a really killer scrape. So before I tie this thing in place, I'm just gonna go ahead and trim up some of these branches that I don't really care to have them scraping on. I want them scraping right on the tall end there, and that's gonna position the deer where they're facing away from me in either one of these trees, and they're gonna be perfectly broadside, hopefully. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut some of these up, clear these branches. Also don't want them shading the plot. So what I'm working with today is some camo paracord. That's what I got, so that's what we're gonna use. We're gonna tie this thing to the stump, make sure it doesn't move when this is getting raked by giant bucks, hopefully. One thing we did to make sure that this was secure as possible is we cut out notches on each side of this to make sure the paracord had a place where it wouldn't slip out of and would stay super secure as we tighten this thing down. I mean, we're hopefully gonna have some giant bucks raking their antlers in this, and we do not want them to rip this tree out. The next thing we're gonna do is I like to zip tie oak branches into my mock scrapes because oaks tend to hold their leaves even after they're dead. They hold their leaves a really long time. So we're gonna do that. A lot of times I also like using grapevines in my scrapes, but since this one's already kind of at the perfect height, we don't need anything hanging down like a grapevine, so we'll skip that for this step. All right, we got our scrape tree in place. Now, the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna clear out dirt down below at the bottom. And you don't have to use scents. I'm gonna use a couple scents just to get this thing going, hopefully. I used this stuff last year. It's Code Blue Gravedigger. It's like powdered buck pea. It smells pretty rank. Seems like the deer are always sniffing it as soon as I put it down. And then on the licking branch itself, we're gonna put Black Widow branch butter. I tested all sorts of different scents last year. I still plan to make a video posting my results, but this is one that had pretty good results. So we're gonna put some of this gel in the branches to get them working it. They'll leave their preorbital gland and all the scents on there, and the deer should just take this thing over. So first thing I'll do is just clear out down below a nice big spot where hopefully nothing will be growing. I'll get all the seed I just threw down out of the way. We'll put our Gravedigger scrape mate, sprinkle that in there. Now we got our branch butter. Stuff's stinky. All right, that should do it. So we'll put a camera over watching this that can see the scrape and this food plot, so we can monitor all the deer activity on here remotely. That should be pretty solid. I'm pretty excited about that. And then I got a tree over here we'll set up and a tree over here we'll set up. Make sure we got good shooting lanes right to the scrape. All right, the stage is set, but it doesn't do us any good if we can't hunt effectively. So I'm gonna climb up here, act like I was gonna be hunting, make sure all my shooting lanes are clear. And that way I know for a fact that when I come in here, when it's season and I got a giant buck showing up on camera, I'll be able to get my chance when I come in to actually execute on it. So I'm gonna climb up here, check everything. We're gonna do the same thing on another tree, and then we're gonna keep rolling here. Got my Latitude operator pouch with all my ropes. Check those out if you haven't already. And the brand new Method 3. I did my first out-of-state hunt this last weekend. Method 3, it's like a dream. All right, so now that I'm up here, I can tell that there's quite a bit that needs to be trimmed, and I want to trim as little as possible because I want as much cover as possible, but I need to be able to maneuver without hitting branches. I need to be able to get the full draw, so I'm just gonna trim some of the ones that for sure gotta go. This is the other thing about this Hoyman saw that I really like is it's got this 10-foot pole that folds down to basically nothing, and then that way I can trim stuff out. I think this is solid. I got all sorts of, I can shoot basically the entire food plot. So I think we're good on this one. So let's jump in the other tree and make sure that one's good to go too. All right, I got in my other tree. This thing's a little wild, so I'm gonna climb up and kind of evaluate things. If it's gonna be too much trouble to hunt out of this, then we'll just default to the one. The tree that we just trimmed out, access is perfect. The wind is gonna be perfect. Like, it's as bulletproof of a setup as you can get, basically. This one's a little bit higher risk, high reward. It's gonna be a closer shot to anything in the food plot, but there's more chance that a deer gets downwind of me. So I'd probably only sit this one if the wind was completely different from the other one, or if the deer are always out of range, which I don't expect that to be the case, but we're gonna get up here and check it out. All right, so now that I'm getting up here, I'm noticing that these split trunks twist and turn a lot of different ways. That's not ideal for saddle hunting or for a tree stand. I could make it work, but I think it's gonna be more trouble than it's worth. And I think to make it work, I'm gonna have to be on the exposed side of the tree more. And I just don't care to do that. So that's why you wanna do this ahead of time. If I would've came in and planned to hunt, had my backpack and all my camo and my bow and everything, I'd be sweating a bunch, trying to figure this out, making a lot of noise. I think what I'm gonna do is just stick with the one tree setup for now. And if the wind's not right for that tree, I'm just not gonna hunt it. And I can hunt almost every wind out of that tree based off where that is, where the deer are bedding and where I'm accessing from. And it's just a lot safer of a bet. I wanna be pretty conservative. This is a small property and I don't wanna get busted. And I know this tree was gonna be kind of high risk, high reward because the shots were gonna be closer, but there's a lot more opportunity for the deer to come in behind me and get downwind of me. There's also a nice trail right behind the camera that you can't see that the deer could potentially get downwind of me. So again, that's why you do this ahead of time. I'm gonna bail on this entirely. If I do decide to hunt this at a later time, at least I've got the branches all cleared up to this point, and it's gonna be a lot less cutting when I actually come in to do it. But again, I think that one I feel really good about. I can shoot the entire plot and should be just fine with that one tree setup. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're actually gonna establish a new mineral lick. I had a mineral site going in the middle of this food plot before it was a food plot, and I don't want it to be a mineral lick anymore, so I'm just gonna start dumping it on this log, get the deer starting to use this area more, but not traveling through the plot a bunch and tearing it up just to get to the mineral. So we're gonna put it right here on the edge. Start with the Imperial Whitetail 30-06 mineral vitamin supplement. The deer have been killing this stuff, so. All right, the last thing that we're gonna do, just to recap everything we've done, we've spread our oats, we've trimmed out the tree we're gonna hunt from, we installed our mock scrape tree, we dumped mineral. The last thing we're gonna do is put up a camera to monitor this. So what we have here is a tree facing dead north, and that's what you want ideally when you hang a camera to eliminate any false triggers. And basically by pointing it here, I can hit the scrape and get everything in the food plot. So if there's a deer in this food plot, there's a good chance this camera is gonna pick it up. I'll be able to monitor everything remotely, keep pressure to a minimum. Again, this is a smaller property. I don't wanna pressure it if I don't have to. So we're gonna hang a Moultrie Edge 3 Pro, and this thing's really cool because it has live aim, which I'll show you here in a second, but I'm gonna put it right about hip height, and that way it has the widest field of view. Again, I want it to be able to see everything in this food plot. I want it to be able to hit this scrape perfectly and hopefully get some really nice HD videos for us. I'll be able to flip on this camera So I'm gonna go into my app, go to devices, hit Antler Alley, and hit deploy camera. Got the name, what I wanted already, it says connecting. And we're gonna do live aim so I can see exactly where this camera is aimed, point it just perfectly. So that way I know I can walk away with confidence and this camera is gonna get exactly what I want. Honestly, I got this thing set up, just kind of eyeballed, and I'm looking on the live aim and I don't know that I need to change anything. I basically have the scrape tree on the left side. You can see the entire food plot. And even if they cut through the trail on the far side of this and go through, I should be able to pick them up. And then I, of course, still have this mineral lick that there's nothing I can do about it unless I dig it out of the ground. So I think I'm just gonna leave it how it is. I'll hit next. It says Antler Alley deployed. We are good to go. I can close this up. And one tip, it's amazing how much public land scouting I do. I come across people's cameras and this strap is just blowing around in the wind. That's gonna eventually blow up in front of your camera, set off your camera and trigger it, and you're gonna end up with a bunch of pictures of nothing. So always, always wrap up your strap. And what I do is I just wrap it around the trees many times until I get close to the tag end and I just tuck it back into itself, tighten it down. And then what I'll do is I'll drop a pin on Onyx so I know exactly where this camera is. I don't forget, but now we're good to go. We can get out of here, know that in a month we can come back with confidence with hopefully some videos of some giant bucks hitting the scrape we put in. And I'm super excited to bring these hunts to you guys. So stay tuned. Antler Alley hunts are up next.